What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Thompson Twins, and we're returning to Big Trash 1989. And the next song may be related to the album title, which is to say it's TV On. Now, televisions can provide information, perspective, entertainment, enjoyment, but they are also famously critiqued for purveying cultural rot, mindless, mind-numbing entertainment that is actually pacifying or tranquilizing, and in some cases worse than that, conveying like culturally disruptive or psycho-emotionally warping content that perhaps makes you not as good of a person as you were before you became involved with the television. Now, obviously, again, there's a wide variety of material that you can watch on a television, and television in the modern era is not quite what it was in the 80s, so there are all sorts of perhaps historical or temporally specific viewpoints. Now, it literally could just be a television is on in the background and there are people having an interaction or some emotional connection, and therefore the television isn't so much the subject of the lyrics, but more a visual framework or a conceptual element in a larger story. But ultimately, again, I have heard many songs over the years that take shots at television for being indicative of maybe some of the worst things humans do, but also being a source of bright lights and entertainment, things which can hypnotize you or lock you in, and on some level maybe provide information that isn't so horrible. So yeah, I feel like there's a large group of possibilities here, but I don't quite know how to take it because it is quite a short title, even if it's more than a single word. Let's give it a listen. This is Thompson Twins. The track is TV On, and it's from their 1989 album, Big Trash.
One at a time. Special message.
Call 540-33-33-33-33-33-33-33-33-33.
Thank you very much. This is the one we've been waiting for.
We just lie right here
Oof. That is a fun tune, and I think some of my inane rambling in the opening wasn't irrelevant, meaning we start right away with the sounds of someone surfing through television stations with game shows and televangelism and perhaps, like a proper drama, maybe a tidbit of news. And then I think later there's even a suggestion that they might be watching like a, let's say, late night type of channel. But okay, so instantly it starts with the mind-numbing experience of channel surfing. We hear the narrator say, look, we don't even need to go to concerts or clubs or anything anymore. Well, let's just plop down on the floor in my room, and we've got 40 stations here beamed in from a satellite, which, again, for those of you who are younger, satellite TV in the 80s was very, new, and, my family didn't have it. It's certainly something that I think was more expensive to have, whereas now there's just, this glut of different things that you can watch, through apps and so on. And in that regard, there's also seemingly a layer to this, that it's about romantic partners sort of holing up in this room and using what is on the TV as a backdrop for their own intimacy, their own emotional and physical connection, and being able to change the scenes and the scenery that is the backdrop to whatever they're doing together. And again, for those of you who are younger, the original Netflix and chill was like, hey, you want to put on a VHS tape or a Betamax tape, or perhaps, something before that. So it feels very much like this snapshot into this couple's life, but it's also commentary on the technology of televisions and what they had become by the late 80s, and the way in which, again, maybe some people were foregoing real experiences, going out to parties and socializing in person, and sort of living vicariously through the content and the different forms of entertainment on television. But again, I think here there's also this layer where they're almost like using the television as their own atmosphere for lovemaking. And I think, again, even maybe referencing watching a late night channel, seeing how people are kissing and maybe making love and then emulating that, or living out their own experience based on that. So there's still a bit of direct experience, it sounds like, but there's also this vicarious, we don't have to go anywhere, we'll get everything we need through this little electromechanical box, which, has this beam of light, this radio signal that comes into it and provides us with this, these bright lights, this entertainment. But yes, I do think it is also like a socio-cultural commentary and a critique in relation to the television, and yet also it's not entirely negative or critical. It is sort of like, hey baby, we can make this our own thing. We don't even need to go anywhere, so, let's enjoy this, and we can set whatever mood we want. So, a clever tune. Again, I feel like it does probably fit into the title of the album, Big Trash. So, yes, it's an interesting experience lyrically or thematically. Sonically, it felt like there are parts where I was like, oh, I did an INXS reaction earlier in this batch, and it reminded me a bit of that funky pop vibe that I've heard from some INXS tunes. Secondarily, I love the little jangle and the guitar. There were definitely some percussive rolls, but they felt like, let's say, more normal drums sounding compared to a lot of the earlier Thompson Twins stuff that I've heard, where it's I'm not even sure what instruments are being struck, what unique percussive elements Alannah is using. So maybe there's still some of that. Maybe it's still that rig where she has all these things hanging and so on. But it felt more like someone doing little fills and rolls on a drum kit. Nevertheless, I enjoyed, there's, some keyboard, almost like an organ type sound, one of the layers. So yeah, it's got this synth funk percussion type of synthesis, which I very much enjoyed. So yeah, a very compelling tune. Curious to hear what people have to say about it. Let me know, and I will see you next time. Peace.